What's that?
Mad Panic Gaming. Let's rock.
Hey everybody, Jim here, and once again just returned home from another epic game hunting trip today. I went way far out into West Tokyo, actually to an area that I used to live in when I first moved to Japan, and I went there because there is a big hard off there that every time I go there is always fully stocked with games and consoles. So it's quite a trip. It's pretty far out, but I felt like it was going to be worth the trip, and it was. I got a lot of really great games today. In fact, I actually did kind of a double game hunt today, because not only did I go to the hard off there, I also went to the hobby off, and they had a ton of games at the hobby off too. So I'm actually going to split it up into a couple of different game hunting videos. So today we're just going to be taking a look at the hard off that's way out there in Hamura. But again, I say I got a lot of great games today, and so I'm going to show off all of that at the end of the video when I do my finds of the day. So come back at the end of the video, we're going to take a look at some of the awesome games I picked up today. But with that being said, let's go game hunting.
Awesome!
Hello everybody, Jim here, and today I'm way out in West Tokyo, about as far west as you can go, while still technically being in Tokyo. I am in the neighborhood of Hamura today, and long time viewers of the channel, you'll probably recognize this place as when I first started the channel. This is actually where I used to live. So my early videos, a lot of them were shot right here, and you're gonna recognize the hard off I'm going to do today, because it used to be like my go-to place. Like, I was there like every other weekend, but I haven't been there in like over a year at this point. So I like to make a point at least once a year to come back to Hamura to hit, you know, what used to be my my favorite hard off, I guess you could say, and to also like hang out like the old neighborhood, which kind of sounds weird now because it doesn't feel like it was that long ago, but it was really almost like 13 years ago that I first moved to this neighborhood. So it really is kind of like the old neighborhood at this point. So we're gonna go for a nice little walk. Should be about 15 or 20 minutes from the station, and then we'll be at my old standby hard off, hopefully just how I remember it, filled to the brim with games and consoles. So let's go for a nice walk on this beautiful March afternoon, and we'll get to some game hunting. So check it out, we'll be there pretty soon. That's coming up next. Kind of wanted to get back to it a little bit before we get to the shop, just to have a look. You don't see much of this in like Tokyo. Just, you know, a little bit of actual dirt, some mountains and trees and stuff, just houses. It's kind of quiet, it's not so crowded. You would think you weren't in Tokyo anymore, but technically you are in Tokyo when you come out here. Tokyo Prefecture, anyway. This is not what people think of when they think Tokyo. In fact, when I used to live out here, when friends would come to visit me from the city, they would be kind of shocked. They would, you know, is this even Tokyo anymore? Like, where am I? Am I in Saitama or something? Especially because I think on like a clear day, especially if you're driving around and there's like a nice sort of like open bit of scenery, you can actually see Mount Fuji on a clear day. So that's something that's not a common sight if you're out in central Tokyo. In fact, on the train from central Tokyo, like say Shinjuku to here, it's probably about an hour and a half. It's pretty far out, but I like this area. Like I said, I lived here for like 4 years and got to know the area well. Anyway, look, we're coming up on our destination. Kind of excited, giddy with anticipation, because I don't know if it's going to be like as awesome as it was when I used to, you know, come here and hunt for games back in the day, or even as far back as a year ago. I don't know if it's going to have the same amount of games as it did just a year ago, because, you know, game hunting, reselling, stuff like that, it's become quite the popular enterprise for people out here these days. Anyway, there it is, off house on the bottom, hard off on the second floor. That's where we're going. So let's do this, baby.
All right, getting started in the classic hard off of old, and kicking things off with something really cool, an MSX2, which I don't come across too many of these. Pretty cool. I myself have never even played an MSX, but the selection of games on it is rather enticing, including some of the Konami releases. And hey, why not? A nice, pretty good condition actually, Dreamcast keyboard. But yeah, in case you couldn't tell, we're looking at some consoles. First and foremost, 9,900 yen for just the deck for a slim PS2. That seems kind of excessive to me. We got another slim PS2 there, which is like $100. What are you doing? And 6,600 for this Sega Saturn. So that's like $55. That's not too bad really for a Saturn. 88 for that white one though. That's I don't know, a little higher than I'd like to see those priced. We got our Super Famicom here. It is boxed. It is upside down, but it's 9,900 yen, and that boy's got a tan too. So again, that one's overpriced as well. What's going on? But these Famicom Minis, $49.50. So it's like $40. You can pick up this Famicom Mini, and you know, they're pretty cool. They come loaded with a bunch of games, and that's kind of convenient if you don't want to, you know, buy a whole collection of games and you're not exactly savvy with downloading ROMs and things. We got some GameCubes, including the silver one, which is the GameCube I had as a lad, and $5,500 for a good old-fashioned PS1 with the original PlayStation controllers. I remember that thing being really kind of impressive, but also kind of alien first time I tried it out as a kid. And $11,000 for just the deck of an AV Famicom, and then $13,200. That's like $100 for an AV Famicom. Those are not getting any cheaper. N64, 3 controllers. That's pretty good. $82.50. Actually, no, that's not pretty good. What am I saying? $5,500 for Famicoms here, and they have the little RF thing. So those are complete, and they're $5,500. $88 for this Dreamcast. And it is, you know, it's complete and that's nice, but 88. I'd like to see, I prefer to see a Dreamcast more at like 6,000 yen, but, you know, who am I? 4,500 for this cool Capcom fight stick. They got some Wii U's as well, which I heard a lot of, like, Wii U's are, like, starting to brick as of late. I don't know what that's about. 5,500 for this Xbox with a transparent shell. And it looks like it has the hookups as well, but just not a controller for it. And I myself am a fan of the original Xbox. And here we have, what the hell is this? An X something or other? No idea what this is. Look kind of interesting. Look more like a piece of computer equipment. Something to that effect. 11,000 for a Mega Drive deck. And that is all I can stand. That's way too much for that. The Virtua stick for the Saturn, that's also overpriced. I don't know what's going on in here. Like I said, I haven't been here in about a year. So they're getting crazy. Ultima 4, Quest of the Avatar, that's pretty cool. And Herzog. And Dragon Knight 2, which I believe is kind of a pornographic game. I was going to say film. And we got some boxed N64 games as well. Some cool little old school handheld things. Scramble, which is cool. PC Engine, CD-ROM System 2, marked as junk, but still being sold for 22,000. We got the Bomberman Multi-Tap, Super Famicom Jr. We got some more PC Engines, and is that an SG-1000? 15,400? That's cool. I've actually never played an SG-1000, but they do look cool. That early generation, that first generation of Sega consoles. Here, though, we got a case with some good stuff inside. There's Layla and Ninja Gaiden 3, or Ninja Ryukenden 3, which I like a lot. They had a couple of copies of that. Some Contra, some Ikari Warriors. I think that's like the second one. And it looks like it has Red Brown on the cover. And you just saw there some Holy Diver Gun Deck, aka Vice Project Doom, Kid Dracula, Wild Guns, baby, Fighter's History, JoJo's Bizarre Adventure, TMNT, Turtles in Time, 3,800 yen, or like a little over 30 bucks. Super Pang, some Double Dragon, Troublemakers as well. So some really cool stuff in that case. I actually did grab a couple of games out of it because, unlike the consoles, the actual games were actually priced pretty good. I'd say they're like right on the money. They're not too expensive, not too cheap. We got some Jaja Maru-kun, 300 yen. A lot of these games, with some exceptions, like, you know, we got Rockman 4 here. That's priced at, what, 600 yen? And Super Clean Cart, that's actually really good on Rockman 4. Usually a Rockman 4 loose cart is going to be like 1,500 yen. So less than half what I usually see it for. So like I said, the consoles, I don't know where they were getting their prices for those consoles. But these games were okay. Transformers! I can never resist that. Yeah, most of this stuff was between like 300 yen and maybe like 1,000 yen. So, you know, a couple of bucks to like 8 bucks for most of these loose carts. That's Kamen no Ninja. It's not Hanamaru. I forget. I should probably be paying attention while I'm watching this. But we got Gyrodyne, some Dragon Ball. We got some box stuff down here too, which is pretty cool. They have a couple of the Yoshi games, or both of the Yoshi puzzle games, and they're both like what, 1,000 yen, and they're boxed, and that's good. So Yoshi's Cookie there, and then Yoshi no Tamago, Yoshi's Egg, which is just called Yoshi in North America at least. Both of those boxed, both of those priced right. So I set those aside because, spoilers, those are going home with me today. Because I'm not just here to make a YouTube video. I am here picking up lots and lots of games to send to the people who subscribe on my Patreon page. As we look at some Bomberman, some Yu Yu Hakusho, a lot of copies of Yoshi's Island. I will digress. If you didn't know, I send out games to my patrons that subscribe over there on patreon.com/KidShow. You can go check it out. We got some Ryuko no Ken, aka Art of Fighting, very good condition cartridge. We got Rockman X2, some Ranma 1/2. Another thing, surprisingly, a lot of these cards were in fantastic condition. Got World Heroes, Rockman 7, another Rockman X2, again in good condition, and Rockman X. And a lot of these, it's like some of them, the back of them is kind of discolored, but the faceplate, whatever, is actually still nice and clean looking. Here, this is pretty cool. A box copy of G Gundam, which, if you didn't know, this is the other 16-bit Gundam fighting game. It is not nearly as good as Gundam Wing Endless Duel, but it's still pretty good. It's pretty cool. You get all the G Gundams, because that whole series was about a fighting tournament with Gundams, so you get all of those. So if you like that series, you'll probably like that game. We got some Super Bomberman 2. That's good stuff. Japan exclusive. And Super Nazo Poyo. Great puzzle game. And another Japan exclusive. And Dragon Ball Z Super Butoden 3. And these are all priced pretty good. Again, even though they're boxed and there's some damage to the manuals or the carts maybe, the prices were nice. So again, all of those consoles they were selling, you can just jump off a cliff with all that nonsense. Tiny Toon Adventures, but interestingly enough, I think we're going to take a look. They had a couple of copies of Tiny Toons. One about 1,000 yen, the other one 300, and I'm looking at it, and it's super clean, and there's no labeling on it, no marking to say there's any difference. So one was just way cheaper for reasons I don't understand, but I picked up the cheaper copy, as you might expect. And some All Japan Pro Wrestling. We got Stan Hansen and Dr. Death Steve Williams and Kenta Kobashi. And then this one, I think this is kind of like more of a like Pancrase or something. Astral Bout 2, I don't know. I liked wrestling when I was a kid, like when I was a teenager. Some Super Mario Kart. Again, nice. Yoshi's Island. Other various things. Ooh, and Seiken Densetsu 3 with its beautiful, beautiful box art. So I was really happy with the prices of the games in here, both loose carts and boxed. And a little later, we're going to take a look at some PlayStation and Saturn and stuff like that too. Sandora no Daiboken, Sandler's Big Adventure. That's part of the Valkyrie series. And we also got Akman. We got Gambare Goemon 3. That one's $1,200, $1,320 after tax. That's not a bad price on that. The Great Battle 3, another fun beat 'em up with little miniature, super deformed Gundam and Ultraman and Bandai characters with a medieval setting. Super Ginjin, aka Super Monk. We got some Seiken Densetsu 2, Mario RPG, Samurai Spirits, and Snoopy. All right, and some Street Fighter. But yeah, Samurai Spirits, that went home with me because that one was like, what, a few hundred yen? That's just perfect. And a complete copy of Great Battle 3 for 2,500 yen, like 27 after tax. There's Front Mission, which is pretty cool, although I prefer Gun Hazard. I'm more of an action game guy. Dragon Quest 6, lovely, lovely, lovely. And finally, a much smaller rack of N64 games, but still they had good stuff. And the prices, again, were pretty good. We got Star Fox, we got Wave Race, Mario Tennis, Mario Kart, and as usual, I usually mention this when I find both of these games. Side by side, what's the better kart racer? For me, it's Diddy Kong Racing. I think that's just a more fun, more robust game, and it's cheaper, believe it or not. So there's some N64 stuff there, and Game Boy. I was so happy that they had some good Game Boy stuff, including Kirby's Pinball, which is great, and some Sailor Moon R. Not exactly sure what it was, assuming it's a puzzle game. We got some Kunio-kun games, we got some Yoshi, Detective Conan, Puyo, another Sailor Moon, a popular title, apparently. So that was cool, and another nifty glass case with some really nice stuff in it. Rockman 4, Quarth, Akumajo Dracula on the disc system. We got Knights of the Round, Ninja Gaiden Trilogy, some Parodius, Some more Akumajo there. And then Zelda Breath of the Wild. I don't know why that game is still basically being sold for retail prices. What's going on? Starfy, DuckTales. That's pretty good. Starfy, that's cool. I usually do not come across boxed GBA games, and usually they're like in really ratty condition because it's just all cardboard, you know. But some more cool stuff in here. We got some more Parodius. Kiki Kai Kai is great. Rockman X3. Super Street Fighter 2. The original Rockman X and X2. Super Double Dragon. I love that game. Yamari Goemon. And just more. So, really nice case there. Gun Force. I like it. I like it a lot. And I think we're going to take a look at a few more Game Boy games here. But then we are going to take a little, kind of like a little ad break. So I can get some water. Rest my, you know, this voice. It doesn't just happen like that. I need to, you know, hydrate. Keep those, keep the larynx lubed up. All that good stuff. So some GBA and all that. But yeah, just right off the bat, consoles, overpriced, loose carts, priced pretty good. Here we go. All right. Check this out. Kind of cool little display here, even though it's, you know, the TV isn't turned on. And 3,300 for a whole bunch of junk games. Or at least games marked as junk. And they got, like, some kind of cool stuff in there. DBZ, Yu Yu Hakusho, Street Fighter 2. But mostly it was like horse racing and baseball. This, as we look at some Saturn games, pretty cool. Game Tengoku, 5,000 yen. With the VHS and all that, so that's cool. That's a really good game, and cool little bonuses in there. But we got some Saturn stuff here. We got some Daytona, Sonic Jam, as you can see there, which has, you know, it's more than just the compilation. It has kind of a cool little overworld thing. And then this, it's Battle Arena Toshinden URA or Ura. I don't know if you're supposed to pronounce it all at once. But that's cool. That was a version of Toshinden I never seen. And then there's Toshinden S. And this, I was super hyped to find for 2,000 yen. It's like 17 bucks right now. The Gradius Deluxe Pack, which is excellent. 2 great games. And if it's a shoot 'em up, you're pretty much always going to want to play it on the Saturn over anything else. Or at least over the PS1. So that was a good find. That was definitely going home with me. Some Virtua Fighter remix. This is the remix. And I'm sorry I did that. That wasn't good. And we got some other stuff here. Evangelion, a couple of Evangelion things. But yeah, the whatever the hell that is. But it was pretty sparse. And another copy of Sonic Jam for 2,000 yen. But Side Pocket 2, I just kind of skimmed past that really quick. But that's cool, right? Side Pocket 2. Those are always fun. Billiards, and some Fighting Vipers. And Densha Go EX. Okay, so like I said, pretty sparse Saturn section. But they actually had some, at least a few cool games. One Game Gear game. It stands alone. It's Sonic the Hedgehog for the Game Gear, which the last time I was here like a year ago, I want to say they had like a dozen Game Gear games, and I bought half of them. I guess somebody came in and took the other half. But here are like boxed Game Boy and Game Boy Color games, and even some GBA, which is nice. Some more common stuff, I guess. And I think I mentioned earlier, but usually when I find GBA games boxed, they're kind of crushed, because I think the tray inside, like the little insert, it's not made of plastic like it is with Famicom and Super Famicom games. It's made of cardboard. And here we have this abysmal Dreamcast section. I'm thinking somebody was in here buying up the Dreamcast games, but hey, they still have a copy of Shenmue at least for 500 yen with the Shenmue jukebox, so at least there's that. But yeah, this place has been totally cleaned out of Dreamcast, PC Engine as well, and not much Saturn left. Star Cruiser, for some kind of old PC. There's a bunch of old PC games here, including Tomb Raider 3, and Age of Mythology. I've never played a Tomb Raider game on PC. Gas Book. Now, what is Gas Book, you might be asking? That's a good question, because I have no idea what the hell Gas Book is. But, you know, it's Gas Book. What do you want? And what do we got here? The Unit, 4th Unit series, Data West. Some more like anime PC stuff. Probably visual novel type games, point and click. So they got a bunch of PC games here. A lot of stuff I don't recognize because I'm not a PC gamer. And then an adult section. That's where things get a little bit naughty. So we're not going over there because this is, well, it's not a family channel, but it is a monetized channel and we'd like to keep it that way. Some Xbox 360 stuff here, and right away I was like, ka-ching! Mushihime Sama Futari for 6,000 yen, which for an individual game like isn't cheap, mind you. That's like a retail price, but those cave shooters on the 360, they can be quite expensive. So guess what came home with me today? And then we got Capcom versus SNK 2 here, and then I get to knock over some stuff, which is always fun. And so there's that. There's Guilty Gear 2, which I believe that's the one where it's like an action game, right? Like 3D action. It's not a fighting game. Why would you do that? Like, why? Skyrim on the 360. With Skyrim, one of the all-time great games. You just play it forever. I actually picked up the Switch version recently. It runs on Switch, if you can believe that. Hokuto no Ken, which this is the FMV Hokuto no Ken game, which is not as good as the 3D beat 'em up, not by a long shot, but kind of a cool concept at least. Monster Farmer 2, which we would of course call Monster Rancher, and I did enjoy those back in the day, popping in all those CDs, just going and raiding my brother or my sister's CD collection for some monsters. Waku Waku Ware, a little volleyball game that I'd never heard of. See, there's lots of stuff in the PS1 library. Did I say library? One-on-one. A little walking library. One-on-one is pretty good too. It's a one-on-one basketball game. Pretty fun. And volleyball game there. But yeah, there's lots of stuff in the PS1 library here because it's so massive. It's thousands of games. There's just lots of stuff. Hajime no Ippo. Those are usually pretty fun boxing games. And some Tobal #1. But there's usually like a bunch of stuff. Like anytime I go out on a game hunt, it's not uncommon for me to come across still to this day. Oh, a Dino Crisis with no manual. That's too bad because it had the spine card. Missed. Allow me to mystify you. Namco Arcade Classics Volume 1. Pac-Man and Galaga, and Pole Position and Rally X. I think I found Volume 3 at the Hobby Off nearby. Those are cool little collections, although I think you can just play all that stuff. I mean, you could obviously download them on like MAME or whatever you want, but I'm pretty sure you could get that stuff digitally on, like, I don't know, the Nintendo Store or something. This is pretty cool. It just says The Puzzle. I think that game is actually called Pastel Muses, and it's kind of a fun twist on kind of like a magical drop or puzzle bobble kind of formula. And they also had you saw there Puyo Puyo, I think Puyo Puyo, was it Son or 2? I don't know. Hermie Hopperhead there, which I didn't take out. I feel like I've talked about Hermie Hopperhead enough. That's a fun game if you've never heard of it or played it. Another good Japan exclusive as we continue to hunt. We hunt, but aside from a handful of things, I wasn't finding too much in the PS1 section. Mina no Golf, those are always fun. Or the Masters. Probably the opposite of Hot Shots Golf, right? I assume if you're going to play a game that's like the Masters, it's probably like super golfy, like just a regular golf game. This, Kid Station, something or other. Some Sailor Moon thing. I have no idea what the hell that is. Rocky Hopper, Rockman X3. A bunch of copies of RPG Maker. So, yeah, there you go. Have some fun with RPG Maker, which I never actually played back in the day. But I did play, what was that one? That game was like Fighter Maker or something? Colony Wars. that takes me back. I remember first playing a demo, like the original PlayStation came with some demos, and I think it had Colony Wars on it, and maybe want to play the game, and I eventually did and enjoyed it. It's kind of a totally different kind of game for me back then when I was like 11 years old. Street Fighter 0 and 02 with their excellent covers, I might add. I think what the US cover for the original Street Fighter Alpha kind of sucked. Soul Edge, aka Soul Blade, also a classic. Some Tetris X, which was that called like Tetris Plus back home? I can't quite remember. And then we got some PS2 stuff, including, for 1,000 yen only, the privilege of Bomberman Karts, Romania 203, which is a weird game, but not one I particularly like, and Zero, aka Fatal Frame, one of my favorite horror game series. Absolutely love it. Dragon Quest VIII, one of the few RPGs I've beaten in both English and Japanese. One of my favorite RPGs ever. This I thought was cool. Phantom of Inferno on the PS2. Actually, this got a release in the US, kind of, but it was released as like an interactive DVD. It wasn't released for the PlayStation 2. It was released as a DVD, and I actually owned a copy. And you played it with your DVD remote, because it was like a visual novel type game. And some more pachinko for you. So there you go. Got point and clicks, we got pachinko, we got Bleach Blade Battlers. B to the third power. Which, you know, some of those Bleach games, they were okay, I suppose. Some Biohazard Code Veronica, some more pachinko, but this time it's personal. No, it's Kamen Rider and some Puyo Puyo Fever 2. Because, you know, Puyo Puyo, it comes in many forms, sometimes feverish, but always fun. And continuing on with some more PS2 stuff, Gantz, and then this, a pretty cool game if you've never tried it, Macross. It's a kind of like air combat game, but also, you know, it's Macross. You can turn into your mech suit and run around on the ground and shoot things, and there's space battles and all kinds of stuff. So it's pretty fun. Shinobi for 500 yen. The PS2 Shinobi game is pretty cool. That, and there was like a sequel, right, called Kunoichi or something like that, but it's pretty cool. I do like that Shinobi, even though it doesn't really feel like, you know, Shinobi. That's fun to say 2 times fast. Shinobi. Try saying it 3 times fast though. Shinobi. Yeah, it's a big departure from, you know, like Return of Shinobi or Shinobi 3 or something like that. And then a quick peek at some of this stuff. We got some PS4 and Vita, all kinds of stuff like that. Earth Defense Force, Persona, lots and lots of stuff. Some Hyperdimension Neptunia, Persona this, Persona that, Persona you, Persona me, Persona everything. Including Persona 5 Scramble, great game. And some Ys, and some Biohazard, and all the goods. Anyway, I'm going to put the camera away at this point because I needed to buy some games, but let's get back to my humble little apartment for my finds of the day. Here we go. Okay, there you go, everybody. Did I or did I not say that Hard Off was going to be loaded with retro games? In fact, though, it wasn't quite as robust as it has been in past years. I get the feeling other game hunters have paid them a visit recently. In particular, Saturn, Dreamcast, PC Engine, that kind of stuff. You know, the kind of stuff that's really big with collectors. They didn't have quite as much of that, but still thousands of games to choose from. Still had plenty of Famicom, Super Famicom, Game Boy, PS1, PS2, all that stuff, and some more modern stuff too, PS4, Vita, all that. So there were quite a lot of games in there, and I picked up a bunch. In fact, I think I mentioned earlier in the video that I did a double game hunt today. I actually went to the Hobby Off, not far from that Hard Off, and I don't know if I've already posted the video or if I'm going to post it in the future. As of shooting this, I don't exactly have the schedule figured out yet, but I did like a double game hunt today, At the end of the day, I picked up 90 games in total between both of those stores, and we spent a grand total today of 88,340 yen. Which, when you consider 90 games for that price, I'd say that's pretty okay considering I picked up actually a lot of really good stuff today. Stuff on Famicom, Super Famicom, picked up some Saturn games, some PlayStation, N64, a lot of really good like platformers and shoot 'em ups, beat 'em ups, all kinds of great stuff. So I'd say for that price, for 90 games, not too bad. And here comes the fun part. We got the finds of the day right here. Like I said, I picked up 90 games today. So that's quite a lot of games, but out of them, I chose these 4 games as the ones I was most excited to come across, and I'm going to be looking forward to actually playing these, play testing them, if you will, before I send them out in the mail. And these are some games that I know when somebody opens up that box, that patented Jim's game package, they're going to see these games, and they are going to get a huge retro gaming boner. Except, you know, 360 isn't really retro. But anyway, let's get right into these games. First up, I have 2 Famicom games here. They are awesome. Had to go in the case to get them, but I didn't care because prices on these were still pretty well under what I normally see them for at, you know, like a proper game store like a Surugaya or a Trader or something like that. But first up, awesome game. This is Gun Deck. And if you've never heard of Gun Deck, it did get a North American release, at least on the NES. And the game is called Vice Project Doom, if I'm not mistaken. This, for the most part, is a really good action platformer that has a very kind of futurist cyberpunk, obviously very inspired by things like Blade Runner, stuff like that. Especially in the character designs, but this game is really cool. So as a platformer, it's good. It might remind you of maybe almost like a Ninja Gaiden-esque kind of game where you're mostly going to be using a melee attack. You have kind of like a laser whip, but you also have a gun with limited ammo, and you have grenades as well. And just in general, it's a really good platformer, nice graphics, nice sound design as well. This is like a later Famicom/NES release, probably like early 90s, probably around that same time that stuff like, I don't know, like Shatterhand and cool games like that were coming out. Hidden gems, if you will, stuff that flew under the radar because they were competing with the SNES and the Sega Genesis. But in addition to being a really cool platformer, there are also shooting stages where you're in your car and there are other like vehicles on the road, and it's like a top-down shoot 'em up. Those are really cool, and there are also shooting gallery stages as well, where you have your crosshair on the screen and you're blowing away bad guys and you're blowing up objects to pick up power-ups and things like that. So it's like a multi-genre game. It's a platformer, it's a quasi shoot 'em up, it's a shooting gallery type game. It's all that stuff, again, coupled with really good graphics and really good sound as well, and a pretty cool story that, again, lifts a lot of inspiration from cyberpunk stuff like Blade Runner and things like that. So if you're a fan of platformers on the NES or the Famicom and you've never played Gun Deck/Vice Project Doom, I would highly recommend you do, because it is awesome. It is, again, Gun Deck. And it says here, katakana, cyberpunk violence Gun Deck. Yeah, even though the game isn't really all that violent, or not violent at all, really. Pretty standard affair when it comes, you know, you kill the enemies and they sort of disappear. Next up, another Famicom game, another great game, Japan exclusive, in fact. This is Gradius 2. And no secret, I'm a big Gradius fan, and the first Gradius on the NES, fantastic game. Gradius 2, better in every way, much better visuals, much better sound. The gameplay is outstanding. It's pretty brutal. Like, Gradius 2 is really difficult. Maybe not as difficult as Gradius 3, the arcade game, because like Gradius 3 on the SNES, pretty easy, actually. Like, on just the normal difficulty setting, I've managed to get through the entire game without dying. Gradius 2, though, I've never been able to do that. Not on the Famicom, not on the PC Engine, or the Saturn, or whatever the case may be. For whatever reason, I just have more trouble with Gradius 2, but that's fine, because it's a great game. It's Gradius, so you know what the gameplay is. You pick up your power-ups, you get shields and options and lasers and all kinds of stuff, and then you just destroy everything. And it's fun, and it's challenging, and the graphics and sound are awesome. It's Konami at their best, and it is a shame that we did not get this on the NES in North America. We got Gradius, and we got Life Force. Those games are both classic, but Gradius 2, it would have been nice. But hey, who the hell cares, because now, fast forward, you know, some like 30 years later, and we can just go ahead and pick it up on the Famicom or whatever else we want to pick it up on and enjoy it. It's an amazing game, and I'm always happy to have it in the rotation here at the old game room. It is Gradius 2. Is there like a subtitle? No, just Gradius 2. I always feel like there's something or other Gopher or whatever. I don't even remember where that comes from. And speaking of Gradius 2 on the Sega Saturn, and these are like really great arcade conversions. If the Famicom version is great, the Sega Saturn version, to the moon. But this is the Gradius Deluxe Pack. And what is the Gradius Deluxe Pack? This contains arcade conversions of both the original Gradius and Gradius 2. So that's awesome, obviously. 2 amazing games. I just said I like Gradius 2 more than the original Gradius, and that's true, but I can play either one of them any day of the week, especially if it's a really good conversion, as this is. Like I said, I've played both of these games on the Famicom, on the PC Engine. I've played them in arcades. I play them on whatever I can, and the Sega Saturn version is awesome. Saturn itself is just great for shoot 'em ups, and Konami put a lot of cool stuff on the Saturn. Maybe not quite as much as they put on the PlayStation, but there are some great Konami games on the Saturn. This, just one of the several deluxe packs that Konami put out on the Saturn and the PS1, I think. So there's also a Parodius Deluxe Pack and a Twinbee Deluxe Pack, and I think there's at least one more, but these are just really great conversions of the original arcade versions of Gradius and Gradius 2, but on your Sega Saturn, which automatically makes them awesome. There's not much else to say. If you like Gradius, you're gonna love them, obviously on the Saturn, and I'm happy to say that this was actually fairly affordable. Picked this up for like 20 bucks today with conversion rate, so that's like a steal, and it was complete with the spine card and all the inserts and everything. So I'm just like ecstatic. I'm gonna play this probably as soon as the camera goes off, and after I'm done with it, it's gonna go into a package and head off to some random mailbox somewhere in the world. Some lucky boy or girl is gonna get this like a Christmas present almost. But here it is, Gradius, the deluxe pack for the Sega Saturn. Absolutely awesome. Super stoked to find that today. And then this, I was like floored. Like, I never come across, well, I would say I come across 360 games, but usually it's like the same handful of 360 games that kind of like everyone had. Very rarely do I come across something where I'm like, yes, I need to pick that up right now. But today, that is exactly what happened. I grabbed a copy of Mushihime-sama Futari. And what is Mushihime-sama Futari, you might be asking? This is a bullet hell shooter in every sense of the word, because this game gets pretty damn intense, especially if you want to be brave and play on some of the higher difficulty settings. But a bullet hell shooter developed, published by Cave. Cave are the masters of the genre, with stuff like Dodon Pachi, Akai Katana, Death Smiles. They have a lot of really great bullet hell shooters. Mushihime-sama Futari is some people's favorites. It's not my favorite. I'm more a fan of maybe like Dodon Pachi or Death Smiles, but I do really, really like the Mushihime-sama games. It's the Bug Princess, so they're kind of cool. Instead of having like a futuristic setting and like spaceships and robots and stuff, or like airplanes like you might get from a Kai Katana, or kind of the fantasy setting of Death Smiles. This one is a more kind of like a natural, like I guess a natural world type of thing, where you're flying around on, you know, a giant bug and you're destroying other giant bugs and like plant creatures and all kinds of stuff. It's a little odd, kind of a strange setting for a bullet hell shooter, all things considered, but the graphics are fantastic, the sound design is amazing, and the gameplay is just top-notch. Again, like, it's Cave. It's as good as bullet hell shooters can be. It's constant, non-stop action, tons of bullets everywhere, enemies to blow up. You got a couple of different fire modes you can go through. You got a rapid shot, you got a laser shot. You can do 2 players with like 2 different characters in here. You got super bombs, and it's just, it's pure insanity from start to finish, but it is so much fun. I know that bullet hell shooters are kind of an acquired taste. Not everybody likes them because they are very different from like a shoot 'em up, right? They're very different from like a Gradius or Darius or R-Type or something like that. Here, there's a lot of keeping track of that tiny little hitbox of yours and maneuvering it through these just dense fields of bullets. It almost becomes like a real test of like your patience and your ability to just like really pay attention to little minute details and kind of like very subtle movements with your joystick. But I personally do really like bullet hell shooters, and again, Mushihime-sama Futari, they're really good. Anything by Cave, it's going to be fantastic. And this also wasn't too terribly expensive. I want to say this was about 50 bucks. This was not the most expensive game today. Actually, I think Gun Deck was the priciest game I picked up today. It was a little more than that, but here Mushihime-sama Futari was about 50 bucks with conversion rate, which that ain't bad at all. If you know anything about these Cave shooters on the Xbox 360, you know that they can get pretty pricey. So I was happy to find this, and for the price I found it at, it just doesn't get a whole lot better than that. And that is Mushihime-sama Futari. Super happy to have that back in here again, because quite some time ago I unloaded all of my Xbox 360 shoot 'em ups. So just having one back here with me so I can play it and have some fun with it again is great. It's nice that a bunch of those older Cave shooters, they've been getting re-released on modern consoles, the PS4 and the Switch. Just recently I picked up Akai Katana, and there's the Death Smiles collection, there's S-Braid, and even I think M2, they're working on a port of Dodonpachi Daiojo, which is going to be fantastic. But those games are also really good on the Xbox 360. Anyway, that's it. Those are my finds of the day. Like I said, picked up 90 games today. A lot of good stuff, but out of everything, these 4, those are the ones that sparked the most joy in me, I guess you could say. So that's it, everyone. I hope you enjoyed the video going on a nice game hunt with me today, way out to Hamura in West Tokyo. I had a good time today. It's always nice to go out there, your old stomping grounds, so to speak, a little shot of nostalgia. I really do enjoy it. I try to make a point to go out there at least once a year to do, go on a game hunt and like maybe chill out at the Denny's or Mr. Donut, maybe even, sometimes if I go there not specifically for a game hunt, I'll wait until some of my favorite night spots open up and go say hi to some old faces. Anyway, that's an aside. Let me know down in the comments, what did you think of today's video, all the games you saw in the video, my finds of the day. And go ahead, as usual, put down in the comments what are some games that are on your wish list, retro or otherwise. I like to know what people are playing or what people want to play. It's interesting. I like going down there, reading all the comments, and doing my best to respond to as many as possible. I feel like this has drug on way too long, though. I doubt very many people are still watching. So thanks for watching, everyone. Again, hope you enjoyed the video, and I will see you on the next one. Take care, everybody. Goodbye.